As a boy, Scott McCown's favorite books were To Kill a Mockingbird and Profiles in Courage, featuring men and women righting society's wrongs through public service. An attorney and a public school teacher, his parents also emphasized helping others. So it isn't too surprising that Scott McCown's career centered on service, first as a lawyer, then a judge, and ultimately the conscience of Texas. After a short stint as a UT professor and an attorney at Vinson & Elkins, McCown joined the Office of the Attorney General as the Enforcement Division Director under Jim Maddox.
And of course, there was a massive amount of litigation, much of it extraordinarily complicated. And so we dumped on Scott everything we could.
In 1988, Scott McCown was elected to the 345th Civil District Court.
He was a wonderful lawyer, was a difficult judge. I think he was impatient, as I think sometimes with lawyers who didn't seem to be quite up to snuff, but he was a wonderful judge.
So I watched Scott very closely and tried to model what he did, and he's pretty impossible to model because he sets the bar so high, frankly. He was a prodigious worker. He has an absolutely brilliant mind, and he is fearless.
During his time on the bench, Judge McCown may be most well known for presiding over the Edgewood School finance case. Judge McCown's ruling eventually led to what became known as the Robin Hood process of funding, a giant shift in how Texas paid for public education. However, one of Judge McCown's proudest achievements is his work with abused and neglected children.
He has an enormous heart. And I think the best example of that is his dedication to the Child Protective Services docket. Very meticulous, as you might imagine. If you know Scott, he's a pretty meticulous fellow. And he had extensive notes about the children, and he bought himself his own camera, and we'd have a large, clear photo of each child and extensive notes about them, so that when they were there, they knew that he knew about their life.
In October 1998, Judge McCown presented to the governor and the Texas legislature a comprehensive analysis of the child welfare system. He illustrated that stagnant resources were being outpaced by an increasing number of child abuse and neglect cases. Urging the legislature to set aside 2 cents of every dollar of the estimated $8 billion surplus, Judge McCown successfully persuaded lawmakers to increase the funding so desperately needed to help these young victims. In 2002, Judge McCown retired from the bench and joined the Center for Public Policy Priorities as the executive director. In this current role, Scott McCown has impacted the lives of countless Texans. The center focuses on evaluating public policy in the areas of healthcare, education, nutrition, and economics as it affects low and moderate income Texans. Texas Monthly has called Scott McCown the conscience of Texas and the voice of the voiceless, as well as one of the most powerful people in Texas.
Scott is on a lifelong quest to discern his calling. You talk to anybody about Scott McCown, whether they agreed with him or disagreed with him completely, even passionately about some things, they will express respect for him.